It's Tuesday, February 18. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. $40 million in compensation is to be given to some 1,200 residents of 10 communities surrounding the Hokwan Iron and Steel Company JISCO ALPART alumina refinery in St. Elizabeth. The residents have been affected by dust nuisance from the plant's mud lake. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Darrell Vaz, made the disclosure at a press conference at the refinery's plant in Nain on Thursday. The communities are Upper and Lower Warminster, Myersville, Al Valley, Brinkley, Northampton, Genius, Buena Vista Housing Scheme, Austin and Folly. Minister Vaz spoke to the issue at the Bernard Lodge Development Master Plan press brief on Friday at Jamaica House.
It is an absolute crisis what is happening down there as a result of the closure, temporary closure of JISCO. I met with the management, the senior Jamaican management, along with all of the agencies that are involved as it relates to the dust nuisance, which is coming from the 650-acre mud lake, as we call it. And what is happening is that as a result of the drought, there's been no rain at that site from December 10th until now. And with the high winds that we get from time to time, there is several dust events. And I actually toured the communities, and it is an absolute health crisis as it relates to the residents.
The minister said the government will be working assiduously to address the issues post-haste.
I just want to reassure the communities that it is something that government will be pursuing to find a solution with JISCO that we can actually get the mud lake and keep it wet during this period of closure until such time as they invoke new technologies and new equipment in their reopening plan. But just to say that it is something at the top of my list as a priority, and I'm committing to them that I will continue to monitor it personally as minister and to make sure that we do what we can do as soon as possible.
JISCO ALPART will be investing over $1 million in finding solutions to curtail the dust from the mud lake, which encompasses 650 acres of land. And there will be no further changes to land use for the Greater Bernard Lodge area. That assurance from Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Darrell Vaz.
I must again, for clarity, indicate that in our discussions and negotiations with the Ministry of Agriculture's Land Management Unit, who approved the change of use for the land as part of the master plan, had a conditionality that Cabinet approved, Mr. Fulton, and that is that there will be no further change of use of agricultural land in and around that entire area. So you can rest assured that is a Cabinet decision. So only the Cabinet can overturn that.
Mr. Vaz outlined the revisions in the master plan regarding the ratio of agricultural land.
The original master plan, and this is important, ladies and gentlemen, was 3,948 acres. That's the one that we approved first, of which 1,717 acres, or 43%, was agriculture, and 2,231 acres, or 57%, being non-agriculture. As a result of the concerns that were raised by JS and other interest groups, we have revised the master plan, which is now 5,384 acres, of which 56% of that 5,384 acres will be devoted to agricultural use, 28% for residential use, and the remaining 16% for utilities, open space, and commercial use. We therefore have increased the agricultural allocation from 43% in the first master plan to 56% in the revised master plan.
State Minister in the Agriculture Ministry, Floyd Green, says the government has plans to put the arable lands to use.
Only 794 acres of the land in Bernard Lodge was in active production. That's only 25% of the land that we had here. Now we have reserved 3,028 acres of the master plan that will be devoted towards agriculture. And the bigger point is that we expect to put that land into production in the short term. We expect within 3 to 5 years to have that full 3,000 acres in full-term production. I think that is an important step, especially if we're going to treat with issues such as our import bill.
The ministers were speaking at a press conference at the Jamaica House on Friday to present the Bernard Lodge Development Master Plan. The revised plan was approved by the Cabinet in January of this year. The Jamaica Defense Force will soon be flying high with a new aircraft. The 2020-2021 estimates of expenditure now before the House of Representatives shows that the government will be spending $3.03 billion in the new fiscal year to conclude the procurement of the aircraft. The project, which is slated to end in March 2023, is being spearheaded by the Ministry of National Security and Finance, and it is financed from the Consolidated Fund. $9 million in the 2020-2021 estimates of expenditure has been earmarked for a project aimed at lowering teen pregnancy rates. The technical support to reduce a teenage pregnancy program will go towards providing contraceptive commodities to 500 adolescent mothers and towards conducting public awareness sessions on adolescent sexual and reproductive health issues. Up to the end of 2019, an ASRH training manual and toolkit were completed, so too training for 60 healthcare workers and adolescent stakeholders to build their capacity to provide adolescent-friendly services. The Government of Jamaica and Inter-American Development Bank funded project is being implemented by the National Family Planning Board. Jamaican nurses are being urged to show compassion in caring for patients. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says nurses should not continue in the profession if they do not love what they do. With almost 5,000 nurses in the ministry, the minister noted that they play a critical role in the healthcare system and form the overwhelming majority of the public health fraternity. Minister Tufton was addressing the University of Technology's Caribbean School of Nursing striping ceremony held at the St. John's Methodist Church Action Center in St. James. The function was held under the theme Empathy and Compassion, the hallmark of caring. Senator Matthew Samuda has been appointed to the Cabinet of Jamaica. He has been appointed Minister without portfolio and assigned to the Ministry of National Security. Senator Samuda was sworn in on Monday by Governor General Sir Patrick Allen.
I, Matthew Peter Samuda, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. So help me God.
Samuda's appointment follows the exit from the Senate of Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Pernell Charles Jr. Charles has been nominated to be the Jamaica Labour Party's standard bearer for the Clarendon Southeastern seat, from which longtime Member of Parliament Rudyard Spencer recently resigned. The Constitution demands that the government maintains a particular quota of appointed ministers within the Senate. Teachers at Eltham High School in St. Catherine are shocked and upset following Tuesday's incident in which armed men entered the school premises. On Monday, the teachers protested against inadequate security measures at the school after men, along with current and former students, entered the compound in an attempt to attack another student. It is believed that the incident began in morning devotion when 2 grade 10 students got into a fight. One of the students is alleged to have called his friends for backup. No one was injured. Celebrating TORIAN'S victory. That was the mood of the Macaulay Primary School in St. Catherine when our news team visited the premises last week. 9-year-old Torian Beckford is the Gleaners' children's own spelling bee champion for 2020. Torian's grandmother, Winsome Hines, stood proud in the celebrations as members of the school's community, even retired teachers, came out to join the victory march last week. Ms. Hines said the victory was not a surprise because her granddaughter worked hard for it, sometimes getting up to study at 3 a.m.
She said, Mommy, wake me up 3 o'clock, man, come if I go through this, Mommy. Come in, I go 2 times now, 1 time I go. I win. Say, all right, baby, since as you can manage it like that, I will help you through the process. And every night, when we call her and say, Tori, time to get up, she never say frowns. She just jump up and ready to go.
Ms. Hines said Torian has always had a good memory.
In the evenings, I'd go to her homework, help her to prepare for the next day, because Mr. Campbell would give her words to spell, and I had to give her them in the nights. Tori, if you pronounce 1 word wrong, you throw off Tori for the entire night.
Acting Principal Courtney Morgan says the school supported the students' preparation for the Spelling Bee Championship, liaising with Coach Campbell for progress reports.
And now she is champion, we will continue to lend that support, right? We couldn't end just like that. We had to have some kind of celebration for her.
For her part, little Torian Beckford is already looking to higher heights with dreams of winning Scripps National Spelling Bee, but she has not forgotten her main supporters.
My grandmother, my coach, and my teacher.
The board chair says the school has always been active in the Spelling Bee Championship and other competitions, and she hopes Torian's win will be a positive inspiration for students and members of the wider Marchpen community.
We are saying you have a name for not a good thing, but here is a good thing, and we're showing you the good thing that comes from this community. So this is why the road, what we have staged is in Marchpen Road.
The National Blood Transfusion Service Blood Bank of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, located at 21 Slipepen Road in Kingston, reopened its doors on Tuesday. The blood bank was closed on Monday to facilitate infrastructural upgrades to improve service delivery to the public. And the US dollar is being traded at $142.17, down by 14 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar is being traded at $107.48, down from $107.92, while the British pound sterling is being traded at $183.75, down from $185.42. In regional news, the 31st Intercessional meeting of the Caribbean Community, or Caricom, got underway on Tuesday in Bridgetown, Barbados. Items on the agenda included discussions on regional energy security and climate change. They're also expected to examine the status of implementation of previous or provisions of the Caricom single market and economy. Among other pressing economic development matters, the meeting is expected to discuss digital transformation in Caricom and an action plan for the elimination of regional roaming charges. Caricom Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque opened the session.
The scope of our agenda illustrates the breadth of issues which we as a community must address to further consolidate our integration and to position ourselves advantageously in an increasingly complex and challenging global arena. Whether it is the imperative of making significant progress with the single market and economy, securing our financial sector, safeguarding our fiscal sovereignty, enhancing our technological capability and capacity, protecting the health and security of our people, expanding our foreign outreach. It is with one goal in mind. We have to build a resilient Caribbean community.
There were also statements from outgoing Caricom Chairman Prime Minister Alan Chastanet of St. Lucia and current Caricom Chairman Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados.
I know that Mia Mottley is fully prepared, and I am sure quite capable of carrying the torch forward. When I took over the chairmanship at the 40th meeting at the Conference of Heads in St. Lucia in July of 2019, I identified some of the areas that were troubling to all of us. Climate change, blacklisting by the EU, the adversities facing small island states in the international community, the ongoing situation in Venezuela, the withdrawal of correspondent banking services from the region, among others. Unfortunately, none of these issues have gone away, and it will be up to the incoming chairperson to continue to lobby on our behalf, because in most cases, the urgency is even greater.
This is a critical moment for us as a community to understand that whether the challenges be with respect to chronic NCDs, which is the insidious killer among too many of our people, or whether the challenge be the more talked about and definite existential crisis of climate, affecting us not just through hurricanes, as it literally has torn many of our countries apart, from Dorian with Bahamas to Maria and Irma with Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda and the British Virgin Islands and too many of our countries to mention, or whether it is violence that has genuinely become a public health disorder with a level of killings across our community that is unacceptable for any community, any part of the world, or whether it is the challenges to our fiscal sovereignty, or whether it is the challenges to multilateralism that are taken and making aim at the integrity of our freedom of association as small groupings, we have to determine how best to confront these challenges. I believe, on behalf of the people of Barbados, that there is always strength in unity.
Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau, who was scheduled to address the opening session, has cancelled his trip amid criticisms over his government's handling of anti-pipeline protests which have affected rail service in the country. Canada's Foreign Minister François-Philippe Champagne will attend the Caricom meeting in place of Trudeau. And Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness was not in attendance at the opening of the 31st Intercessional meeting of the Caribbean Community, or Caricom, which got underway on Tuesday in Bridgetown, Barbados. Mr. Holness was instead represented by Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. In other regional news, Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago on Monday signed a Unitisation agreement in Bridgetown that would allow for the exploration of hydrocarbons in the geological formations offshore, where the borders of the two Caribbean community countries meet. Both Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and his host, Prime Minister Mia Mottley, said the agreement provides an opportunity for improving the socio-economic fortunes of the two countries.
We acknowledge that the geological history of the area recognizes no borders between both Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados, and whatever exists might run across these borders. And in searching for it, we start with seismic surveys. And those surveys are best done without constraint by borders. If we do find hydrocarbons, as we anticipate that we would, given the geological prospects that we have been noting, it would be easier for us to be able to explore, to exploit, to produce and to market any such product if we do it together.
Motley said the agreement underscores the deepening of the regional integration movement.
This is exactly as he has indicated, the deepening of an integration movement, but within the integration movement, people looking to even carry it further and to treat each other truly as kith and kin. In these matters, certainty is required if we are dealing with commercial risk. And to that extent, there is nobody who would undertake commercial risk without having certainty. We are now, as two sovereign states, given all of the persons who will be seeking to exploit on either side of the line the certainty that they need in order to be able to spend their money to do these things.
Motley, who is also chairman of the Caribbean community, said she would like to see greater cooperation within the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas on the areas of energy as the region confronts the existential threat of climate change.
Against that background, Trinidad has always had the lead on the Energy Task Force, and we are very supportive of them continuing. And I hope that during the course of the next few months that we will be in a position to recommend to heads a framework, because as we currently speak, the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas only refers to energy, perhaps I think in one specific sentence that is substantive, and that is simply that we will do our best to exploit the resources.
In news from Guyana, the son of late President Jagan, Joey Jagan, has thrown his weight behind the ruling coalition APNU+AFC as the March 2 general elections draw near. Gordon Mosley of News Source Guyana reports.
Well, the only son of late presidents Dr. Chetty Jagan and Jenna Jagan joined the campaign trail on Saturday for the APNU+AFC. Well-known dental surgeon and political commentator Dr. Chetty Jagan Jr. was in Eltham with a coalition on Saturday night, encouraging citizens of Eltham and the rest of Guyana to throw their support behind the incumbent David Granger.
We are faced with life today, and what do we have? We have a choice. You got a choice, Mr. Granger or Mr. Ali Frontman. But you're looking at Mr. Ali who's frontman, you're looking at backman too. Backman, Mr. Jagdio, it's two presidents they want to give we. We don't want two presidents, we got one, and we got a very good one.
Dr. Jagan said Guyana's future is bright with the oil sector, and the sector needs proper management to move it forward. And he believes that management will be best under the incumbent president.
Mr. Granger got to have respect. He fight cancer and beat it, and thank God. Thank God for the Cuban doctors. Thank you, Cuba, for what you did for us. Because Mr. Granger beat cancer, and if you can beat cancer, you can beat the PBB. Guarantee you that.
Meanwhile, President Granger also encouraged the citizens of the Rupununi region to throw their support behind the APNU+AFC coalition. The president said there has been widespread development all across the Rupununi region and the town of Eltham over the past years, and that development work must continue.
We are going to convert the promises that have been made into performance. We are going to convert the potential of this great region into production. We are to convert the villages which are languishing in poverty into villages which are enjoying prosperity. That is why on the first day of this year, I declared a decade of development.
On the issue of the oil and gas sector, the president also announced that cash advances will be made available to school children under his government, with particular conditions in place to ensure their regular attendance at school.
But this will be a reward to parents who keep their children in school. If parents could show that their children have a high attendance record, they'll be paid for every day that child goes to school, up to the age of 15. So we're not paying for 35-year-old children, only 15 years. And we have a public education scholarship program.
Mr. Granger also said his decade of development plan will cater for communities and towns like Eltham, and all citizens stand to benefit.
In sports, we kick off with football. League leaders Waterhouse have extended their unbeaten run to 8 games in the Red Stripe Premier League as they clipped Humberlion 1-0 at the Druseland Stadium on Sunday. The all-important goal was scored in the 77th minute by captain Keithy Simpson. The win took Waterhouse up to 50 points. Mount Pleasant Academy ensured their remaining in the championship within 3 points of the leaders as they blanked UEFC 3-0 at Drax Hall. Kevon Isaacs, Cardell Benbow and Kamar Beckford were the scorers for the St. Anne-based club. In other games of the day, Dumbarton held Vere United at a 1-1 draw, while Arnett Gardens and Malines United played at a pulsating 2-2 all draw. Cavalier and Tivoli Gardens played at a 1-1 draw in the Monday night fixture. The Portmore United versus Harbourview encounter has been postponed due to Portmore's commitments in the CONCACAF Champions League this week. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.